Thank you for subscribing to Placenta Facts. One other feature of mammals I forgot to mention is that we determine sex genetically. This might seem like a trivial point, but more ancient mammals like amphibians and reptiles determine sex based on the temperature of the egg. You might remember this was a plot point in Jurassic Park. Mammals are default female until the Y chromosomal genes are activated, particularly SRY. But this system has a fatal flaw. Due to a lack of genetic recombination, the Y chromosome has been slowly decreasing in size since its first appearance about 300 million years ago, and it has even completely disappeared in a few mammal species. This will inevitably lead to fertility problems and the possible extinction of many therian mammals. Oops. Anyway, the dominant lineage today is the placentals, which includes humans. Placental species number in the thousands compared to 379 marsupials and a paltry 5 monotremes. But where placentals came from and why they dominated terrestrial niches is still a matter of debate. They just sort of show up in the fossil record after the asteroid impact, but it's likely they evolved earlier. Placentals are part of a larger classification of mammals called Eutheria, meaning true beasts. The earliest Eutherian fossil we have is that of Jeremiah, dated to the Jurassic period some 160 million years ago. Eutherians have special ankle bone adaptations that allow them to adapt to new niches like tree and rock climbing. But don't get confused, this is not a placental mammal. In particular, it still has an epipubic bone, which only placentals lack. Epipubic bones aid locomotion in marsupials, maybe, kinda, sorta, but they also prevent the expansion of the abdomen during pregnancy, which would make placental reproduction impossible. How early Eutherians reproduced is unknown, but they probably had a rudimentary placenta like marsupials do. So placental mammals are defined by a wide opening at the bottom of the pelvis, a lack of an epipubic bone, and some very stable ankle bones. The rearmost foot bones fits inside the end of the tibia and the fibia like a peg in a hole. These stable ankle bones help with climbing, but because placentals lack epipubic bones, they might make up for less locomotion stability as well. What else? Oh right, the placenta. As stated in the last video, early placentas grew out of the fetus's yolk sac. The technical name for this is a chorioveteline placenta. Placental placentas are instead chorioallantoic. This placenta bypasses the yolk sac, which you'll notice in the right image is minimized. Instead, it grows out of the allantois. It occurs to me that some of you might not know what the yolk sac and the allantois actually do. In bird and reptile eggs, the short answer is that the yolk sac contains the nutrition while the allantois collects fetal waste. The thing about the placenta though is that it could do both these things. It could both provide nutrition and remove waste. Because of this, look at the human fetus. Go on, look at it. The yolk sac is just a bulbous hangnail, while the allantois is part of the umbilical cord, and is considered by some to be vestigial in humans. As the placenta took over more of the nutrition and waste removal, it became more feasible to just leave the baby in the womb. How placental mammals lost their epipubic bones is a bit of a mystery, but once they were gone, the abdomen could expand, allowing the baby to stay in the womb for longer. Compared to marsupials, who have to release the fetus early, this protects placental fetuses from environmental hazards. Many placentals, such as horses, hares, and pigs, give birth to highly developed or precocial infants. A baby giraffe can stand up within 30 minutes of being born. That's nuts. It should be pointed out that the placenta is a very fast evolving organ, and its development widely differs among mammals depending on nutrition requirements, reproductive strategy, and the problem of the mother's immune system. Mammal immune systems are also fast evolving because there's always some new virus or bacterium or prion disease to fight, and so whenever the mother's immune system evolves, the placenta also has to evolve in order to protect the baby from the mother's own white blood cells. If you think humans are good at this, you'd be wrong. Humans have an archaic, unusually invasive placenta and a fairly high miscarriage rate. In contrast, horses and pigs have evolved a superficial placenta which presumably protects the fetus from the mother's immune system or from transmitting diseases from the mother to the infant. So like I said earlier, we haven't found any placental fossils dated to before the Cretaceous extinction event. But with the death of the dinosaurs, several ecological niches are now wide open. It's free real estate. A niche, in case you don't know, is an ecological role. Insectivore is an example of a niche. You are the animal that eats insects and you like it. Seed eater, leaf eater, mesopredator, apex predator, forest dweller, grasslands dweller, burrower, semi-aquatic, your weird friend who builds dams on rivers, diurnal or nocturnal. These are all examples of niches. By occupying different niches, animals avoid competition with each other. When niches are full, the rate of evolution is slow. But when niches open up, say, due to a mass extinction event, the rate of evolution speeds up as the surviving species radiate to fill these available niches. Thus, mammals became diurnal for the first time in their history and started increasing in size. They even evolved to fill new niches, like the flying insectivore in the case of bats, or the tree-dwelling primates. Within a mere 10 million years, which is a blip in geological time, mammals had evolved over 130 new genera, encompassing some 4,000 new species. These included the earliest bats, rodents, whales, and primates. Of course, the surviving birds and reptiles also diversified at this time and occasionally took over terrestrial niches. Like, have you guys heard of the terror bird? This carnivorous flightless bird just ruled South America for millions of years. Birds actually did very well after the extinction event, but for the most part they avoided competition with mammals by occupying different niches like airborne predator or waterfowl. And reptiles only got large in isolated areas like the Galapagos Islands where large tortoises took over the large herbivore niche. Why were the mammals able to radiate and evolve so quickly? It helped that they were warm-blooded like the dinosaurs. Warm-blooded or endothermic animals have more stamina and can metabolize food more easily. The fact that mammals have fur is even better because it helps them maintain their heat. Excluding the monotremes, they also didn't lay eggs, which mean their young were protected against environmental hazards. And then there's teeth. And chewing. Did you know that only mammals chew their food? I did not realize that. Remember that mammals started out as insectivores, so instead of swallowing the insects whole, which tickles the back of the throat, they started chewing those insects using molar teeth. This broke the insects' exoskeletons for the gooey guts inside. Of course, once you can chew insects, you could also chew other kinds of food in the smaller digestible pieces. This expands possible food sources. Also, mammals are heterodonts. This means they have multiple kinds of teeth. This adaptation is ancient, going back to the synapsids some 300 million years ago. And in mammals, they allow for a sort of evolutionary flexibility. Teeth are the hardest part of a mammal's body and so are very well preserved in the fossil record, meaning there's a surprising amount of research and classification based on teeth. Now, at this time, the continents look something like this. Notice how Africa, Eurasia, and North America are all fairly close to each other. This is the territory that placental mammals rapidly proliferated and diversified in. Meanwhile, marsupials diversified in South America, and there are still over 100 marsupial species there today. Monotremes took over Australia. Notice that the three southern continents of South America, Antarctica, and Australia are connected though. Antarctica at this time was warm and forested. Through Antarctica, marsupials were able to migrate all the way to Australia, where they outcompeted the monotremes. Weirdly though, some placental mammals from Africa started to appear in South America, even though the two continents at this time were separated by over 1,000 miles of ocean. We're not sure how they got there, but the current hypothesis is that they rafted over on vegetation after a storm. Are we out of time already? Oh, this is going to take more videos than I thought. I'm going to get some chocolate-covered ants.